found a folder in my son's office with my name on it. Not a sticky note, not a reminder. A full legal folder, the kind attorneys use, the ones with the metal prongs and the reinforced tab. My name was typed on the label in that clean sans serif font everyone uses now. Professional, permanent. I wasn't snooping. That's what I told myself at first, anyway. Daniel had called me over to help with his printer. Something about the network connection dropping every time he tried to scan documents. I'd done IT work for 30 years before I retired, so I was the go-to guy for anything with a power cord and a screen. "It's in the office, Dad," he'd said when I arrived. "I'll be right back. Just got to grab something from the garage." The office was exactly what you'd expect from a 34-year-old project manager who read books about optimization and productivity. Clean desk, ergonomic chair. One of those standing desk converters he probably used twice. The printer sat on a rolling cart in the corner, blinking an angry orange light. I knelt down to check the cables. Everything looked fine. I opened the paper tray, found it empty, and stood up to look for more paper. That's when I saw the filing cabinet. Top drawer slightly open. Inside, folders arranged in perfect alphabetical order. And there it was, third from the front. William Reed. My name. I pulled it out. Not quickly, not with shaking hands. Just pulled it out the way you'd pull out any folder in any cabinet. The weight felt wrong immediately. Too much paper for something casual. Inside were documents. Real documents. Printed on heavy stock, the kind with watermarks. The first one was a medical proxy form. Blank signature line at the bottom, but everything else was filled in. My full legal name, my date of birth, my social security number. The kind of information you don't just guess at. Authorization for Daniel Reed to make medical decisions on behalf of William Reed in the event of incapacity or inability to communicate wishes. Dated April 15th, 2026. I checked my watch. It was January 9th, 2026. 3 months into the future, I flipped to the next document, Asset Control Agreement, Transfer of Primary Residential Property Management to Daniel Reed and Vanessa Reed, effective May 4, 2026. Contingencies listed for refinancing, sale, or rental. Vanessa was Daniel's wife. The house they were talking about was mine. I sat down in Daniel's chair. Not because I was shocked. I wasn't shocked yet. I was just processing. That's what I told myself. Processing. The next document was a power of attorney form, broad authority, financial decisions, legal representation, healthcare directives, everything. Effective date, June 4th, 2026. I heard the garage door open. Daniel's footsteps coming back through the house. I put the folder back exactly where I'd found it, closed the drawer, stood up. When Daniel walked in, I was standing by the printer with a USB cable in my hand. "Found the problem," I said. "Loose connection." "Seriously? That's it?" "That's it." He laughed. "I spent 20 minutes on the phone with support yesterday. They wanted me to reinstall drivers." "They always do." I reconnected the cable, powered the printer off and on. It beeped happily and started its startup sequence. "You're a lifesaver, Dad." "No problem." He walked me to the front door. We made small talk about the weather, about his work, about whether I wanted to stay for lunch. I said no, I had things to do. He didn't push. When I got to my car, I sat in the driver's seat for a long time before starting the engine. Not because I was angry, not because I was hurt, because I was remembering something. 3 weeks ago, Daniel had asked me to sign a consent form for something. I hadn't read it closely. It was about giving him permission to handle some administrative tasks if I ever needed help. He'd made it sound casual, routine, the kind of thing everyone does as they get older. I'd signed it. And now I was wondering what exactly that form had said. I drove home. My wife Linda was in the kitchen, putting away groceries. She looked up when I walked in. "How'd it go?" "Fixed his printer." "Good." I stood there for a moment, watching her organize cans in the pantry. She had a system. She always had a system. "Linda." She turned around. "Do you remember that form Daniel had me sign a few weeks ago?" Her expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Just for a second. "The medical thing?" "Yeah, that one." "What about it?" "Do you know where we kept the copy?" "I think it's in the file box." "Why?" "Just want to look at it." She closed the pantry door. "You find something?" I told her about the folder. She didn't interrupt, didn't ask questions, just listened the way she always did when something was serious. When I finished, she walked past me into the hallway and pulled down the file box from the top shelf of the closet. It took her 3 minutes to go through it. "It's not here," she said. "You sure?" "I'm sure. I saw him put it in here the day you signed it. It's gone. We stood there in the hallway, holding an empty file box, and I realized something I should have realized 3 weeks ago. My son was planning something. Not reacting to something. Not preparing for an emergency. Planning. And the timeline he was working with had already started. I went into the living room and opened my laptop. I logged into my bank account. Everything looked normal at first. Checking account, savings account. The balances matched what I expected. Then I checked the activity log. There was a note attached to my account. Added 2 weeks ago. Internal banknote, not visible unless you clicked into the account details. Authorized signer pending Daniel Reed. Activation date, March 1st, 2026. I showed Linda. She read it twice, then she sat down on the couch and looked at me. What else did the folder say? I told her everything I could remember. The dates, the contingencies, the housing transfer. Did you see Vanessa's name anywhere else? On the property management form. Why? Because 3 months ago she asked me about our mortgage. Said they were thinking of refinancing their place and wanted to know what kind of rate we had. I thought it was just small talk. It wasn't small talk. What did you tell her? I told her we didn't have one. Paid it off in 2019. Linda looked at me. So they know the house is free and clear? Yeah. And they know you signed something giving Daniel medical authority? Yeah. And they've already set up bank access for March? I nodded. She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood was quiet. January afternoon, gray sky, a few kids riding bikes down the street. Normal. William. Yeah. What are you going to do? I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to verify everything first, and then I was going to stop it. But I didn't say that. Not yet. I'm going to check a few things, I said. I'll let you know what I find. She turned around. You're not going to confront him. Not yet? Good. Because if you do it now, while you're not sure what all of this means, he'll just have an excuse ready, and you won't get another chance to see what he's really doing. She was right. She was always right about people. So what do I do? You pretend you don't know. You act normal, and you watch. That night, Daniel called. Just to check in, he said. Just to see how I was doing. We talked for maybe 5 minutes. He mentioned that Vanessa's parents were coming to visit next month, that they'd probably all get together for dinner, that I should keep my schedule open. Sounds good, I said. You feeling okay, Dad? You sound tired. Just a long day. You should rest more. Seriously, you're not 30 anymore. I know. Okay. Well, talk to you soon. Yeah, soon. I hung up. Linda was standing in the doorway. What did he say? He wants us to keep our schedule open next month. For what? Dinner with Vanessa's parents. She thought about that for a moment. Then she went back into the kitchen without saying anything. I opened my laptop again and pulled up the calendar. I found the date, April 15th, 2026. The date on the medical proxy form. 3 months away. I wondered what else was scheduled for April, and I wondered how long they'd been planning this. The next morning, I drove to the bank, not my usual branch, the one downtown where the actual loan officers and account managers worked. I told the receptionist I needed to speak with someone about account security. She set me up with a manager named Eric. Eric was young, mid-30s, wore a tie that was just loose enough to look approachable. He shook my hand and gestured to the chair across from his desk. What can I do for you, Mr. Reed? I saw a note on my account about an authorized signer. Okay. I don't remember setting that up. He turned to his computer and pulled up my account. Let me take a look. He scrolled for a moment. Authorized signer pending, Daniel Reed. Activation date March 1st. That's about 7 weeks from now. Who set that up? According to this, you did. Form was submitted January 3rd. Signed and notarized. Do you have a copy of the form? I can pull it. Give me a second. He clicked through a few screens, then turned the monitor toward me. There was the form, my signature at the bottom. Clear as day. But I hadn't signed it on January 3rd. I'd signed it 3 weeks ago, December 18th. That's not the date I signed this, I said. Eric leaned forward. Are you saying this is fraudulent? I'm saying the date is wrong. Do you have proof of when you actually signed it? I didn't. That was the problem. I'd signed it at Daniel's house. No witnesses except Daniel, no copy given to me. What happens if I want to cancel this? I asked. You can file a dispute. We'd freeze the request, start an investigation. Takes about 10 business days. And if the form is legitimate, then the signer gets activated and we close the dispute. What if I just want to remove the authorization entirely? You can do that, but you'd need to come in with ID, sign a revocation form, and we'd process it within 48 hours. I thought about it. If I revoked it now, Daniel would know I'd found out, and I still didn't know what else was in motion. I'll think about it, I said. Eric handed me a business card. Call me if you need anything. We take this stuff seriously. I thanked him and left. On the way home, I stopped at a coffee shop and sat in the parking lot. I needed to think. I needed to map this out. Daniel had a medical proxy dated for April. He had bank access scheduled for March. He had property management plans for May. All of it was sequential. All of it was timed. And all of it depended on me either being incapacitated or being cooperative, which meant at some point they were going to try to make one of those things happen. I called Linda. "Where are you?" she asked. "Coffee shop on Ridgemont. Listen, I need you to do something." "What?" "Check our files again. Anything Daniel or Vanessa gave us in the last 6 months. Any forms, any paperwork, any notices. I need to know what I've signed." "Okay." "And check the mail. See if there's anything we're supposed to respond to that we haven't." "You think there's more?" "I think this is a system, not a single move. A system." She was quiet for a moment. "I'll call you back in an hour." She called back in 45 minutes. "Found 3 things," she said. "Insurance beneficiary update from November, retirement account reallocation form from October, and a healthcare directive addendum from September." "What did they say?" "The insurance form lists Daniel as primary beneficiary. The retirement form moves your accounts into a managed trust with Daniel as trustee if you're unable to manage them yourself. The healthcare directive gives him authority to make end-of-life decisions." I didn't say anything. "William, I'm here. Did you know you signed these?" "I knew I signed something. I didn't know what they really were." "They're all legal. I checked the language. A lawyer wrote these." "Which lawyer?" "I don't know. There's no firm name on any of them. Just notary stamps." That meant Daniel had paid for this quietly. No paper trail back to him except the documents themselves. "What do you want to do?" Linda asked. "I want to know what happens in April." "What do you mean?" "All of these documents activate on specific dates. March for the bank, April for the medical proxy, May for the property. Something's supposed to happen in April." "You think they're going to try to have you declared incompetent?" It wasn't a question. She'd already figured it out. "Yeah. How?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." I hung up and drove home. When I got there, Linda had every document we'd signed in the last year spread out on the dining room table. She'd organized them by date, by type, by who had requested them. 12 forms total, she said. All of them requested by Daniel or Vanessa, all of them signed by you. What do they add up to? Complete control. If something happens to you, they have medical authority, financial authority, property authority, and legal authority. And if something happens to both of us, they inherit everything outright. "What about our daughter?" Linda looked at me. We didn't talk about our daughter much. She'd moved to California 6 years ago and called maybe twice a year. We'd drifted. It happened. "She's listed as a secondary beneficiary on 2 of the forms. She'd get 20% of the estate. Daniel gets 80. "Why 80? "Because the forms specify that primary caregivers receive priority distribution. Daniel's listed as your primary caregiver." "I don't have a caregiver." "You do on paper." I sat down. Linda sat next to me. "They've been planning this for at least 8 months, she said. Maybe longer." "Why?" "I don't know, but I can guess." "Tell me." "Daniel's firm is struggling. I heard Vanessa mention it at Christmas, something about budget cuts and layoffs. They're probably in debt, and they know you have assets. So they're just going to take them. Not take, inherit, manage, control. It's cleaner than stealing. And it's legal if you're declared incompetent or if something happens to you." I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood was still quiet, still normal. "What's in April?" Linda asked again. I didn't answer, but I was thinking about something Daniel had said during our phone call, about keeping my schedule open, about dinner with Vanessa's parents. I pulled out my phone and opened the calendar again. April 15th, 2026. Then I opened my email and searched for anything from Daniel or Vanessa in the last 3 months. I found something. An email from Vanessa, sent in December. Subject line, "Quick favor." The message was short. She was asking me to participate in a health screening study at the university. Paid participation, Simple cognitive tests, completely voluntary. She'd included a link to sign up. I'd ignored it, but now I clicked the link. The study was called Cognitive Aging and Family Dynamics. The description said participants would complete memory tests, cognitive assessments, and family history interviews. Results would be shared with participants and their designated family caregivers. The sessions were scheduled throughout the spring. The first one was April 14th, 2026. One day before the medical proxy became active. I showed Linda. She read it twice. "They're going to use this to prove you're declining," she said. "How?" "I don't know, but if they control who sees the results, they control the narrative." I closed my laptop. Linda looked at me. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking they've built a timeline, and I need to break it before April." "How?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to figure it out." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the folder, about the dates, about how carefully everything was planned. They weren't improvising, they weren't reacting, they were executing, and I'd signed every single piece of paper they'd needed. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. The dinner was Linda's idea. She suggested it casually on a Sunday afternoon, 3 days after I found the folder. "We should have everyone over," she said. "It's been a while." I was in the garage, pretending to organize tools I'd already organized twice that week. I needed to look busy, needed to look normal. "Who's everyone?" I asked. "Daniel and Vanessa. Maybe Emily, if she's free." Emily was our daughter. She wouldn't be free. She was never free. "Why now?" "Because if you don't act normal, they'll know you found something. And if they know you found something, they'll move faster." She was right. She was always right. "Okay," I said. "Set it up." She did. Daniel said yes within an hour. Vanessa said she'd bring dessert. Emily didn't respond. The dinner was scheduled for Saturday night. I spent the next 4 days watching. That's all I did. I watched Daniel when he came by to drop off some mail that had been delivered to his house by mistake. I watched Vanessa when she stopped by to borrow a ladder. I watched the way they moved through my house like they were measuring it, because they were. On Saturday, I set the table. 6 places, even though I knew Emily wouldn't come. Linda made chicken, roasted vegetables, some kind of casserole she'd found online, comfort food, the kind of meal you serve when you want people to feel safe. Daniel and Vanessa arrived at 6:30. He was wearing a casual button-down and jeans. She wore a sweater that probably cost more than my car payment used to. They brought wine. Expensive wine. The kind you bring when you're trying to impress someone. "Thanks for having us, Dad," Daniel said. "Of course." Vanessa hugged Linda. "The house smells amazing." "Just chicken," Linda said. We sat down. I poured wine. Linda brought out the food. For about 10 minutes, everything was normal. We talked about the weather, about Daniel's work, about a vacation Vanessa's parents were planning. Then Daniel said something that made me stop chewing. "So, Dad, have you thought any more about that health screening thing Vanessa sent you?" I looked at Vanessa. She smiled. Apologetic, harmless. "I know it's kind of random," she said. "But they're still looking for participants. And honestly, it'd be kind of fun. You get paid, and the results are really interesting. My dad did it last year and said it was actually pretty cool." "What kind of results?" I asked. "Just cognitive stuff. Memory tests, pattern recognition, that kind of thing. They compare your results to baseline data for your age group, gives you a sense of where you're at." "Where I'm at with what?" "Just general brain health. It's preventative. Helps you catch things early if there's any decline." Decline. There it was. "I'll think about it," I said. Daniel leaned back in his chair. "You know, Dad, it wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, you're what, 67 now?" 66? "Right, 66. Still sharp, obviously. But it's good to have a baseline, just in case." "Just in case." I took a drink of wine. "In case what?" "In case anything changes. That's how these things work, right? You get a baseline now, and then if anything shifts down the road, you have something to compare it to." Vanessa nodded. "Exactly. My dad said the same thing. He was worried at first, but then he realized it's just information. And information is good." Linda spoke up. "When is it?" "There are a bunch of sessions," Vanessa said. "You can pick whichever one works. I think the next one is in a few weeks." "April?" I asked. Vanessa blinked. "Maybe. I'd have to check." She was lying. She knew exactly when it was. "I'll think about it," I said again. Daniel looked at Vanessa, then back at me. "No pressure, Dad. Just thought it might be interesting." We kept eating. Linda asked Vanessa about her job. Vanessa worked in HR for a tech company downtown. She talked for a while about projects and team dynamics and things I didn't care about. I watched Daniel while she talked. He was checking his phone under the table. Not obviously, just quick glances, like he was waiting for something. After dinner, Linda brought out dessert, some kind of chocolate cake Vanessa had brought. It was good. I ate 2 pieces because I needed something to do with my hands. Then Daniel said, "Hey, Dad, you mind if I use your office for a second? I need to send an email." "Sure." He stood up and walked down the hall. I heard the office door close. Vanessa kept talking. She was telling Linda about a trip they were planning to Colorado in the summer. Skiing. She asked if we'd ever been. Linda said no. I excused myself and walked toward the hallway. I didn't go into the office. I just stood near the door and listened. I could hear Daniel talking. Quietly. On the phone. "Yeah, we're still here." "No, he didn't commit to it yet." "I don't know. Maybe we push it back a week." "No, I don't think that's smart. If we move too fast, he'll notice." "Okay, I'll call you tomorrow." He hung up. I walked back to the dining room before he came out. When he returned, he was smiling. "All set." "Work thing?" I asked. "Yeah, client email. You know how it is?" I didn't. I'd been retired for 4 years. We moved to the living room. Linda brought out coffee. We sat around and talked about nothing for another 40 minutes. Daniel made a joke about me being stuck in the past because I still used a flip phone. Vanessa laughed and said something about how her dad was the same way. "It's generational," she said. "You guys just don't see the point of upgrading." "Why would I upgrade?" I asked. "This one works. Because new ones are better." "Better how?" "They just are." Daniel jumped in. "Dad, seriously, when's the last time you got a new phone?" 2015. He laughed. 2015? That's almost 10 years ago. "It still works. But it's not efficient. You can't even text properly on that thing." "I don't need to text properly." "What if there's an emergency?" "Then I'll call." Vanessa smiled. "You're adorable." I hated that word. They left around 10. Daniel hugged me. Vanessa hugged Linda. They thanked us for dinner and said we should do it again soon. "Definitely," Linda said. When the door closed, I turned to her. "What did you hear?" "Vanessa asked me about your medical history. Wanted to know if you'd ever had any memory issues." "What did you tell her?" I told her no, but she pushed. I asked if you'd ever forgotten appointments or repeated yourself. I said no again. She looked disappointed. I went back to the dining room and started clearing plates. Linda followed me. "They're testing you." "I know. Not just at dinner, in general. They're watching to see if you show any signs of decline. And if I don't, then they'll create them." I set the plates down on the counter. "How?" "I don't know yet, but that's what the health screening is for. If they control the test, they control the results." I opened the dishwasher and started loading it. Linda stood next to me, drying the wine glasses by hand. "We need to know who else is involved," she said. "What do you mean?" "Daniel was on the phone with someone who's helping him plan this. Could be Vanessa's parents, could be a lawyer, could be someone else, but he's not doing this alone." "How do we find out?" "We don't. Not directly. If we ask, they'll know we're looking. So we wait." I closed the dishwasher. For what? For them to slip. She was right. Again. Over the next 2 weeks, I played the part. I forgot things on purpose, small things, where I put my keys, what day trash pickup was. I repeated a story Daniel had already heard. I asked Vanessa the same question twice in one conversation. Not enough to be obvious, just enough to make them think I was slipping, and they noticed. Daniel started calling more often, just to check in, just to see how I was doing. He'd ask me questions about things we'd talked about a few days before, testing my memory. I'd get half of them wrong. "You sure you're feeling okay, Dad?" "I'm fine." "Why?" "No reason, just making sure." Vanessa stopped by one afternoon with some groceries she said were extra. She stayed for coffee. We talked for a while. She asked me about Linda, how she was doing, if she was handling everything okay. "Handling what?" I asked. "Just, everything. The house, the finances, you." "Why wouldn't she be handling it?" "I didn't mean it like that. I just meant it's a lot for one person." "Linda's fine." "I'm sure she is. But if you ever need help, you know Daniel and I are here." "I'll keep that in mind." She left 20 minutes later. I watched her drive away from the living room window. When her car turned the corner, I walked to the kitchen. Linda was sitting at the table. "She's worried," I said. "About what?" "That I'm not declining fast enough." Linda nodded. "They're impatient." "Good. That means they'll make mistakes. Or speed up the timeline." I sat down across from her. "Do you still have the documents?" "All of them." "I need to see the medical proxy again." She pulled it out of the file box and handed it to me. I read through it carefully this time, every word, every clause. There was a section near the end I hadn't noticed before. It specified the conditions under which the proxy became active. Incapacity was defined as the inability to understand or communicate healthcare decisions as determined by 2 licensed medical professionals. 2 professionals, not 1. 2, which meant Daniel needed to find 2 doctors who would agree I was incompetent. "Who are the doctors?" Linda asked. "It doesn't say." "Then we need to find out before April." I folded the document and handed it back to her. "How?" "We follow him." That night, I started tracking Daniel's schedule. He worked from home most days, but he left the house for meetings 2 or 3 times a week. I started following him. Not closely, just close enough. On Tuesday, he drove to a medical building downtown. He parked and went inside. I waited in the lot. He came out 40 minutes later. On Thursday, he drove to a law office. Same thing. Parked, went inside, came out 30 minutes later. On Friday, he went to a coffee shop and met with someone. I couldn't see who from where I was parked, but I took a picture through the window. Older man, 60s, glasses, gray suit. I sent the picture to Linda. She called me back 10 minutes later. "That's Dr. Raymond Kemp. He's a geriatric psychiatrist." "How do you know?" I reverse image searched him. His profile came up on the hospital website. "What does a geriatric psychiatrist do?" "Evaluates cognitive decline in elderly patients. Diagnoses dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that." I hung up. I knew what Daniel was doing now. He was lining up the doctors, the ones who would declare me incompetent, and he was doing it before April 15th. That night, I sat in the garage and tried to think. I needed to disrupt the timeline, but if I moved too soon, they'd know I was onto them. If I waited too long, they'd have everything in place and I wouldn't be able to stop it. I needed leverage, I needed proof, and I needed it before April. Linda came out to the garage around 11. "You're going to stay out here all night?" "Maybe." "Come inside." I followed her in. She'd made tea. We sat at the kitchen table and drank it in silence for a while. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I don't know yet." "You need a plan." "I know. And you need to act normal until you have one." "I know." She set her cup down. "William?" "Yeah. If we're going to stop this, we can't do it halfway. We can't just delay it. We have to end it." "I know." "Do you?" I looked at her. "What do you mean?" "I mean, if you go after them, they'll come back harder. So if you're going to do this, you have to make sure they can't recover." I didn't say anything. "Can you do that?" she asked. I thought about the folder, about the documents, about the way Daniel had smiled at dinner when he was talking about my phone. "Yeah," I said. "I can do that." She nodded. "Good." The next morning, I called Daniel. "Hey, Dad. Hey, listen, I thought about that health screening thing." "Yeah? I'll do it." There was a pause, just a second, but I heard it. "That's great, Dad. I'll have Vanessa send you the details." "Sounds good." I hung up. Linda was standing in the doorway. "You're going through with it?" "I need to know what they're planning. The only way to know is to see it. And if it's a trap, then I'll spring it early." She didn't look convinced, but she didn't argue. That afternoon, Vanessa called. She was excited, bubbly. She gave me the date and time for the screening, April 14th, 2026. 10 a.m., the University Medical Center, Building C, 3rd floor. "It's super easy," she said. "Just a few hours. You'll be done by lunch." "Okay. And thanks for doing this. It really means a lot." "No problem." I hung up. Linda was watching me. "April 14th, I said. One day before the proxy." "Yeah. They're going to use the results to prove you're declining." "I know. So what's the plan?" I didn't have one yet, but I had 2 months to figure it out, and I was going to make sure that when April 14th came, I was ready. They didn't call for 3 days. No messages, no visits, nothing. It was the silence that bothered me most. Not knowing what they were planning, not knowing how they'd react. On the 4th day, I got a text from Vanessa, short, professional. "Still planning to attend the screening on April 14th. Let me know if you need a ride." I didn't respond. That night, I sat in the garage again. I'd started doing that more often. The garage was my space, Tools on the walls, workbench in the corner, the smell of oil and sawdust. It reminded me of when things were simpler. Linda came out around 10. "You're hiding." "I'm thinking." "About what?" "About April." She pulled up a stool and sat down. "You're still going through with it?" "I have to. If I back out now, they'll use it against me. They'll say I'm scared of being tested, that I know I'll fail. And if you go, then I prove I'm fine, and they have to explain why they're still trying to take control. Or they'll say the test wasn't comprehensive enough." I set down the wrench I'd been holding. "So no matter what I do, they win. Not if you change the game." "How?" "By making them play defense instead of offense." I looked at her. "What do you mean?" "Right now, they're driving the timeline. They set the dates, they schedule the meetings, they control the paperwork. You're reacting. That's why you feel like you're losing." "So what do I do?" "You stop reacting. You start acting." "How?" She stood up and walked to the workbench, picked up a piece of sandpaper, ran her thumb along the edge. "You've been treating this like they're making moves and you're blocking them. But that's not how you win. You win by making moves they can't block." "Like what?" "Like going on the offensive. Stop defending yourself. Start attacking their plan." I thought about it. "How do I attack their plan when I don't know what the full plan is?" "You make them show you." "How?" She set the sandpaper down. "You force them into a situation where they have to commit, where they can't back out, and then you expose them." "At the screening." "At the screening." I nodded slowly. "Okay, but I need leverage, something they don't know I have." "You already have it." "What?" "The Declaration of Competency. They know you filed it, but they don't know what's in it. It's just a statement saying I'm of sound mind. But they don't know that. For all they know, it's a detailed legal document outlining their entire plan. Let them think that. Let them panic." I smiled for the first time in days. "You're smarter than I am." "I know." The next morning, I called Paul Granger. "I need another document," I said. "What kind?" "A revocation of the medical proxy, but I don't want to file it yet. I just want it ready." "Okay. When do you want it?" "Before April 14th. I can have it done this week." "Do it." He called me back 3 days later. The revocation was ready. I picked it up from his office. He'd put it in a sealed envelope. "Don't open it until you're ready to file," he said. "Why?" "Because once you open it, it's active. The clock starts." I took the envelope home and put it in the safe. Linda was the only other person who knew the combination. "When are you going to use it?" she asked. "When I need to." "That's not a plan." "It's the best I've got." 2 weeks passed. Daniel didn't call. Vanessa didn't text. It was like they'd disappeared, but I knew they hadn't. I knew they were planning. On March 28th, I got an email from the University Medical Center. A reminder about the screening, confirmation of the date and time, instructions on what to bring. At the bottom, there was a note. "Your designated caregiver, Daniel Reed, has been notified and will receive a copy of your results within 48 hours of completion." I forwarded the email to Linda. She called me 5 minutes later. "They're bypassing you." "What?" "They're going to send the results to Daniel before you even see them. That way he can control how they're interpreted." "Can they do that?" "If you consented to it, yes." "I didn't consent to that." "Check the terms and conditions you agreed to when you signed up." I pulled up the email from Vanessa, clicked the link, scrolled to the section on results. There it was. "Results will be shared with the participant and their designated caregiver simultaneously unless otherwise requested." I'd never requested otherwise. "Shit," I said. "Can you change it?" "I don't know. I'll call them." I called the medical center, got transferred 3 times, finally reached someone in the research department. "I want to change my caregiver designation," I said. "Let me pull up your file." "Okay, I see it. You're currently listed with Daniel Reed. Who would you like to change it to?" "My wife, Linda Reed." "Okay, I'll update that now. You should receive a confirmation email within the hour." "Thanks." I hung up. Linda was standing in the doorway. "Done?" "Done. They're going to notice." "I know." "And they're going to be pissed." "Good." That night, Daniel called. "Dad, we need to talk." "About what?" "You changed the caregiver designation for the screening." "Yeah. Why?" "Because Linda's my wife." "But I'm your healthcare proxy." "Not yet, you're not. Not until April 15th. There was a pause. "Dad, I don't think you understand what you're doing." "I understand perfectly." "Do you? because it seems like you're making things harder for everyone. How am I making things harder? By shutting us out, by acting like we're the enemy. Are you? Another pause. I'm your son. That doesn't answer the question. He hung up. Linda sat down next to me. He's angry. Yeah. That's good. Angry people make mistakes. Or they get dangerous. Then we'll be ready. The next 2 weeks felt like waiting for a storm. I could feel the pressure building, could feel something coming. On April 10th, 4 days before the screening, Daniel showed up at the house unannounced. Again, I was in the garage. I heard the door open and looked up. He was standing in the doorway. We need to talk. So talk? He walked in and closed the door behind him. That's when I knew this wasn't going to be a normal conversation. Dad, I'm going to be straight with you. Okay. You're making this a lot harder than it needs to be. Making what harder? Everything. The planning, the preparation. You're fighting us every step of the way. Because I don't need you to plan anything for me. Yes, you do. You just don't see it yet. I set down the tool I was holding. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're not thinking clearly. You're not seeing the bigger picture. And you are? Yeah, I am. Because I'm looking out for your future. And you're just reacting emotionally. I stood up. Get to the point, Daniel. The point is, you're going to take that screening. You're going to let us see the results. And you're going to accept whatever comes next. And if I don't? He stepped closer. Then things are going to get a lot worse for you. Is that a threat? It's a fact. We stood there for a moment, close enough that I could see the tension in his jaw, the anger in his eyes. Get out, I said. Dad, get out of my garage. He didn't move. I said, get out. He stared at me for another few seconds. Then he turned and walked out. I locked the door behind him. Linda came out a few minutes later. What happened? He threatened me. What did he say? I told her. She was quiet for a moment. He's scared. Of what? Of losing control. You've been blocking him at every turn. He's realizing his plan isn't working. So what does that mean? It means he's going to do something desperate. Like what? I don't know. But we need to be ready. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation in the garage, the look on Daniel's face, the way he'd stepped toward me. He wasn't my son anymore. He was an opponent. The email came at 9 a.m. Subject line, cognitive assessment results. I opened it. The report was attached as a PDF. 3 pages, charts, numbers, commentary. I read through it twice. Overall cognitive function, within normal range for age group. Memory recall, above average. Problem-solving ability, above average. Pattern recognition, within normal range. Verbal fluency, above average. At the bottom, there was a summary statement from Dr. Larson. Participant demonstrated strong cognitive performance across all assessment areas. No indicators of decline or impairment detected. Results consistent with healthy cognitive aging. I forwarded the email to Linda. She called me 30 seconds later. You passed. Yeah. They're going to lose their minds. Yeah. Have they called yet? No. They will. She was right. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Daniel, I let it ring, didn't answer. He called again 5 minutes later. I didn't answer. Third time, I picked up. Yeah? Dad, we need to talk. About what? About the results. What about them? You saw them? Yeah. And? And I'm fine, just like I said. There was a pause. Dad, these tests aren't always accurate. Dr. Larson seemed pretty confident. I know, but there are things these tests don't catch. Subtle things. Like what? Like early stage decline, like judgment issues, like, Daniel. Yeah? I'm fine. The test proved it. End of story. It's not the end of the story, Dad. This is just one data point. One data point is all I need. That's not how it works. Then how does it work? He didn't answer right away. We'll talk about this later, he said. He hung up. Linda came into the office. What did he say? He said the test isn't accurate. Of course he did. He's not going to stop. No, he's going to double down. She was right again. That afternoon, Vanessa called. William, I just wanted to check in. I know the results came back. Yeah. And I know they're good. Yeah. But I think we need to be careful about how we interpret them. What do you mean? I mean, cognitive tests are great, but they're not the whole picture. There are other things to consider. Like what? Like day-to-day functioning, like decision-making, like whether you're able to manage your own affairs. I've been managing my own affairs for 66 years. I know, but as we get older, things change, and sometimes we don't notice those changes ourselves. Are you saying I'm not capable of managing my own life? I'm saying we want to make sure you have support, that's all. I have support. I have Linda. Of course. But Linda's not getting any younger either, and if something happened to her, we want to make sure you're taken care of. I hung up. Linda was standing in the doorway. They're shifting strategy. What do you mean? They're not going after your competency anymore. They're going after your independence. They're saying you need help, that you need them. I don't need them. I know, but they're going to try to make it look like you do. How? I don't know, but we need to be ready. That night, I went through the documents again, all of them, looking for anything I'd missed. There was one document I hadn't paid much attention to before, a healthcare directive addendum, the one from September. I read through it carefully. Near the end, there was a clause I hadn't noticed. In the event that the primary caregiver determines that the participant is unable to safely manage their living situation, the caregiver is authorized to arrange alternative housing on the participant's behalf. Alternative housing. Linda. She came over. Look at this. She read the clause. They're going to try to move you. Move me where? Assisted living, memory care, somewhere they can control. They can't do that. The test proved I'm fine. The test proves your cognitive function is fine, but this clause doesn't require a cognitive test. It just requires Daniel to determine that you're unable to safely manage your living situation. How does he determine that? However he wants. That's the problem. The language is subjective. I set the document down. So even though I passed the test, they can still move forward. Yes? When does the medical proxy activate? Tomorrow, April 17th. I looked at her. So starting tomorrow, Daniel has the legal authority to make healthcare decisions for me? Only if you're incapacitated. But he defines what incapacity means. Technically, 2 doctors have to agree, but if he finds 2 doctors who will sign off on it, yes. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the street was quiet, darkness settling in. I need to revoke the proxy. Do it tomorrow, first thing. Why wait? Because if you do it tonight, he'll have time to respond before it's filed. If you wait until tomorrow, it'll be active and he won't be able to stop it. Okay. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I sat in the garage with the lights off and thought about everything that had happened. Daniel wasn't going to stop. Even with the test results. Even with the revocation. He'd keep pushing until he got what he wanted, which meant I needed to do more than just defend myself. I needed to destroy his plan completely. At 6 a.m, I got up and went into the office. I pulled out the sealed envelope from the safe, the one with the medical proxy revocation. I opened it. The document was simple. 1 page, clear language. I, William Reed, hereby revoke all previous medical proxy authorizations granted to Daniel Reed, effective immediately. I signed it. Linda came in. You're doing it now? Yeah. Good. I'll drive you to the courthouse. We left at 8. The courthouse opened at 8:30. We were the first ones in line. The clerk processed the revocation in 10 minutes, stamped it, filed it, handed me a copy. You're all set, she said. That's it? That's it. The revocation is active as of right now. We walked out. Linda exhaled. Okay, that's done. Yeah. Now what? Now we wait for Daniel to find out. He found out fast. By 11, he was calling. I didn't answer. By noon, he was at the house. I saw his car pull up. I went to the door before he could knock. He was standing on the porch, holding a piece of paper. His face was red. What the hell is this? He said. It's a revocation. I can see that. Why? Because I don't need a medical proxy. You signed the original form voluntarily. And I'm revoking it voluntarily. You can't do this. I just did. He stepped closer. Dad, you're making a huge mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake. No, it's not. Because when something happens to you, when you actually need help, you're not going to have it. I'll take that risk. This isn't about risk. This is about being responsible, and you're not being responsible. I think I am. He stared at me. You think this is over? I think we're done here. We're not done, not even close. He turned and walked back to his car. Linda was standing behind me. He's not going to let this go. I know. What's his next move? I don't know, but it's going to be soon. That night, I got a call from Paul Granger, the lawyer. Mr. Reed, I wanted to give you a heads up. About what? I got a call from another attorney today. Guy named Richard Hastings. He represents your son. What did he want? He wanted to know about the declaration of competency you filed. Asked if I'd be willing to retract it. What did you tell him? I told him to pound sand, but I thought you should know they're trying to undermine it. Can they do that? Not easily, but they can challenge it. File a counterclaim, force a hearing. How long does that take? A few weeks, maybe a month. And in the meantime? In the meantime, your declaration stands. Okay, thanks for the heads up. I hung up. Linda was watching me. They hired a lawyer. Who? Richard Hastings. That's not good. Why? Because Richard Hastings doesn't take small cases. He's expensive, which means they're serious about this. How serious? Serious enough to spend tens of thousands of dollars. I sat down. They're escalating. Yes. So what do I do? You escalate too. How? You stop playing defense. You go after them. How do I do that? She thought for a moment. You expose them. To who? To everyone. I looked at her. What do you mean? I mean you take everything you know, the documents, the timeline, the plan, and you make it public. How? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. The next day, I started gathering evidence. I made copies of every document, organized them by date, created a timeline of everything that had happened. Linda helped. She found emails, text messages, voicemails, anything that showed what Daniel and Vanessa had been planning. By the end of the week, we had a file 3 inches thick. This is everything? Linda asked. Everything I can prove? What about the things you can't prove? Like what? Like the conversations, the threats, the intimidation. I don't have evidence of those. You have your testimony. That's not enough. It might be. I closed the file. So what do we do with this? We find someone who can use it. Like who? I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out. That night, I got another call, this time from a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Mr. Reed? Yes. This is Dr. Raymond Kemp. I believe you know who I am. The geriatric psychiatrist, the one Daniel had met with. I know who you are. Good. I wanted to reach out because I think there's been a misunderstanding. About what? About my involvement with your son. He consulted with me a few months ago, asked some questions about cognitive decline, but I want to be clear, I never agreed to evaluate you. Why are you telling me this? Because I heard you revoked the medical proxy, and I wanted you to know that I'm not part of whatever plan your son has. Why would you tell me that? Because I don't like being used, and I don't like being lied to. What did he lie about? He told me you'd requested an evaluation, that you were concerned about your memory, but after I saw you in that coffee shop, I realized he was lying. So what are you going to do about it? Nothing. It's not my fight, but I thought you should know. He hung up. I told Linda. He's backing out, she said. Good. Which means Daniel needs to find another doctor. How long will that take? Not long. There are plenty of doctors who will sign off on anything if the price is right. So we're back to square one. No, we're not. Because now we know Daniel's scrambling. He's losing pieces. And when people scramble, they make mistakes. She was right. 2 days later, Daniel made his mistake. He came to the house. Late, almost midnight. I was still awake, sitting in the garage. I heard the door open. Heard footsteps. Then the garage door opened. Daniel was standing there. We need to talk, he said. It's midnight. I don't care. He walked in and closed the door behind him. You're ruining everything, he said. I'm not ruining anything. Yes, you are. You're being selfish. You're being stubborn. And you're making this harder than it needs to be. I'm protecting myself. From what? From me? I'm your son. You're trying to take everything I have. I'm trying to help you. A bullshit. He stepped closer. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what's coming. What's coming, Daniel? Life, old age, decline. You think you're fine now, but you won't be. And when that happens, you're going to wish you'd let us help. I'll take my chances. You don't have chances. You have time, and your time is running out. I stood up. We were face to face now. Get out of my house, I said. This is going to be my house. No, it's not. Yes, it is, because you can't stop it. I pushed him. Not hard, just enough to back him up. He pushed back. Harder. I stumbled, caught myself on the workbench. You're weak, he said. You're old, and you're in the way. That's when I hit him. Not a punch, just a shove, hard enough to knock him back into the wall. He looked at me, shocked. Then he smiled. That was a mistake, Dad. He pulled out his phone, took a picture of himself. The angle made it look like I'd done more damage than I had. "Thanks for the evidence," he said. He walked out. I stood there for a long time. My hands were shaking. Linda came out. "What happened?" I told her. "He took a picture?" "Yeah." "For what?" "Proof. He's going to use it to say I'm violent, unstable." "Can he do that?" "If he finds the right doctor, yeah." Linda sat down on the stool. "William, this is getting dangerous." "I know. We need to end this. Now." "How?" She looked at me. "We give them what they want." "What do you mean?" "We make them think they've won. We let them believe they're in control, and then we pull the rug out." "How?" "I don't know yet. But I'm working on it." That night, I couldn't stop thinking about the look on Daniel's face when he smiled. He wasn't my son anymore. He was something else, and I was going to have to treat him like it. Linda's plan was simple, elegant even. "You're going to sign the papers," she said. We were sitting at the kitchen table, 3 a.m. Neither of us could sleep. "Sign what papers?" "All of them. The property transfer, the financial power of attorney, everything they want." "Why would I do that?" "Because we're going to modify them first." I looked at her. "Modify them how?" "We're going to add clauses they won't notice until it's too late. Clauses that invalidate everything if certain conditions aren't met." "Like what?" "Like requiring both our signatures, like requiring notarization by a specific notary, like requiring verification from an independent third party. We'll bury it in the legal language. They won't read it carefully because they'll think they've already won. And when they figure it out, by then it'll be too late. They'll have built their entire plan around documents that are worthless." I thought about it. "That's risky." "Everything's risky now. What if they catch it before we file?" "They won't, because we're going to give them exactly what they think they want. We're going to make it easy." "How?" "You're going to call Daniel. You're going to tell him you've had time to think, that you've realized he's right, that you're ready to move forward with the transfers." "He won't believe me." "Yes, he will, because people believe what they want to believe, and he wants to believe he's won." She was right. The next morning, I called Daniel. "Dad?" "Yeah, listen, I've been thinking." There was a pause, suspicion in his voice. "About what?" "About what you said, about planning ahead, about being responsible." "Okay. And I think you're right. I think I've been stubborn. I think I need to let you help." Longer pause this time. "Are you serious?" "Yeah, I'm serious." "What changed your mind?" "I don't know. I just realized I can't do this alone, and I trust you. You're my son." I could hear him breathing on the other end. "Okay," he said slowly. "Okay. That's good, Dad. I'm glad you're seeing this clearly now. So, what do we need to do?" "I'll bring the papers over. We can go through them together." "When?" "How about this afternoon?" "Sounds good." I hung up. Linda was watching me. "You sounded convincing." "I've had practice lying lately." "How long do we have?" "Until this afternoon." "That's enough time." She went into the office and pulled up the documents on the computer, started making changes, adding clauses, hiding them in subsections and footnotes. I watched over her shoulder. "They'll never read all of this," she said. "You sure?" "I'm sure. They'll skim it, they'll see your signature, and they'll think they've won." By noon, she was done. She printed out new versions of every document. Clean, professional, almost identical to the originals, except for the buried clauses that made them worthless. Daniel arrived at 2. He brought Vanessa. They both looked cautiously optimistic. We sat in the dining room. Daniel spread the documents out on the table. "These are the same forms we talked about before," he said. "Property management transfer, financial power of attorney, healthcare directive." "Okay. I just need you to sign at the bottom of each one, and we'll need Linda to witness." "That's it?" "That's it." He handed me a pen. I pretended to read through the first document. Took my time, made it look like I was being careful. "This all looks fine," I said. I signed it. Daniel exhaled, relieved. I moved to the second document, signed it, then the third. By the time I was done, I'd signed 5 documents. Daniel gathered them up, organized them, put them in a folder. "Thanks, Dad. I know this wasn't easy." "It's fine. We're going to take care of everything. You don't have to worry about anything anymore." "Okay," Vanessa smiled. "This is really good, William. You made the right choice." They left 20 minutes later. When the door closed, Linda turned to me. Now what? Now we wait. For what? For them to try to use the documents. And when they do, they'll realize they're worthless. How long will that take? Not long. They're moving fast now. They think they've won. She was right again. 3 days later, Daniel called. Dad, we need to talk. About what? About the property transfer. I tried to file it today. There's a problem. What kind of problem? The notary said there's missing information. Something about a third-party verification requirement. I don't know what that means. Neither do I, but apparently it's in the document you signed. So fix it. I can't fix it. It requires you to go through a whole separate process. With an independent evaluator. It could take months. Then I guess it takes months. Dad, this doesn't make sense. Why would you agree to sign the documents if you knew they had all these requirements? I didn't know. I just signed what you gave me. That's not what I gave you. Someone changed these. I don't know what you're talking about. He hung up. Linda came into the room. He figured it out. Part of it, but not all of it. What do you mean? He knows the property transfer is invalid, but he hasn't checked the other documents yet. When he does, he's going to lose it. She was right. The next day, Daniel came to the house. He didn't knock, just walked in. I was in the living room. Where's Linda? He asked. In the kitchen? Get her. I didn't move. Excuse me? Get her, now. Linda walked in. What's going on? Daniel threw the folder on the coffee table. That's what's going on. Every single document is invalid. Every single one has some clause or requirement that makes it impossible to use. I don't understand, I said. Yes, you do. You changed them. You and Linda, you set me up. I signed what you gave me. No, you signed modified versions, and you knew exactly what you were doing. Linda spoke up. Daniel, I think you're confused. I'm not confused. I'm pissed. Do you have any idea how much time I've wasted? How much money? That's not our problem, I said. He stepped toward me. You think this is over? You think you won? I think you need to leave. I'm not leaving until we fix this. There's nothing to fix. You wanted me to sign documents. I signed them. If they don't work for you, that's your issue. He looked at Linda. This was your idea, wasn't it? I don't know what you're talking about. Bullshit. Dad wouldn't have thought of this. But you would. You need to leave, I said again. Or what? You'll call the cops? Tell them your son is trying to help you? I'll tell them my son is harassing me, he laughed. Good luck with that. I have evidence. Remember that picture of you shoving me? That's assault. I could have you arrested right now. Then do it. He stared at me, then at Linda. This isn't over, he said. He grabbed the folder and walked out. When the door closed, I sat down. Linda sat next to me. He's going to come back harder. I know. What do we do? We finish this. How? I looked at her. We take away everything he's built. The timeline, the plan, the evidence, all of it. And how do we do that? I don't know yet, but I'm going to figure it out. That night, I went back through everything. The documents, the emails, the timeline, looking for weak points, looking for leverage. And I found it. In the original medical proxy Daniel had drafted, the one I'd revoked. There was a section I'd missed before, a clause that specified the conditions under which the proxy could be activated. The proxy becomes active upon certification of incapacity by 2 licensed medical professionals. Certification must be completed within 30 days of proxy activation date. April 15th had been the activation date, which meant Daniel had until May 15th to get 2 doctors to certify that I was incompetent, and it was already April 22nd. He had 3 weeks. I called Paul Granger. I need to file something else, I said. What? A preemptive motion blocking any future competency evaluations unless I specifically request them. You can do that? Can I? Let me check. He called back an hour later. You can. It's called a protective order. Basically prevents anyone from forcing you into a medical or psychiatric evaluation without your consent. How fast can you file it? Tomorrow morning. Do it. The next day, the protective order was filed. Daniel found out within 48 hours. He called. I didn't answer. He came to the house. I didn't open the door. He left a message. You're making this impossible. But you know what? Fine. If you want to do this the hard way, we'll do it the hard way. I didn't call back. Linda and I spent the next week preparing. We went through every document we had, every email, every piece of evidence. We organized it, labeled it, made copies. What are we preparing for? Linda asked. War, I said. With who? With Daniel, with Vanessa, with whoever else they've brought into this. And how do we win? We make them lose everything. How? I'm still working on that part. On May 1st, Daniel's lawyer called. Richard Hastings. Mr. Reed, we need to discuss your son's concerns. What concerns? His concerns about your well-being, about your ability to manage your affairs. I'm managing fine. Your son disagrees. My son is wrong. Be that as it may, he's prepared to file a petition for guardianship. On what grounds? On the grounds that you're exhibiting signs of cognitive decline and making decisions that are not in your best interest. I had a cognitive assessment. I passed. One assessment isn't definitive. It is for me. Mr. Reed, I strongly advise you to reconsider your position. Guardianship proceedings can be lengthy and expensive for everyone involved. Is that a threat? It's a reality. Then let's make it reality. I hung up. Linda was standing in the doorway. He's filing for guardianship. I know. Can he win? If he finds the right judge and the right doctors, maybe. So what do? We fight. With what? With everything we have. That night, I went into the garage. I pulled out a box I hadn't opened in years. Inside were old files, records from when I'd worked in IT, security protocols, access logs, things I'd kept because I thought they might be useful someday. I was right. There was a file labeled Digital Forensics, notes I'd taken during a training course in 2015, how to track digital activity, how to recover deleted files, how to trace communications. I brought the file inside. Linda looked at it. What is this? Leverage. What kind of leverage? The kind that shows exactly what Daniel's been planning and who's been helping him. How? I'm going to trace his communications, his emails, his calls, his meetings, everything, and I'm going to prove he's been planning this for months, maybe years. Can you do that? I used to do it for a living. That was 10 years ago. Some things don't change. I spent the next 3 days going through Daniel's digital footprint. I started with social media, public posts, comments, check-ins. Then I moved to email headers, metadata, timestamps, and I found it. A trail of communications going back 18 months, emails between Daniel and Vanessa, emails between Daniel and lawyers, emails between Daniel and financial advisors, all of them discussing the same thing, how to take control of my assets. I printed everything out, organized it chronologically, built a narrative. Linda read through it. This is damning, she said. I know. This proves premeditation. I know. So what do we do with it? We use it. How? I'm still figuring that out. On May 10th, 5 days before Daniel's deadline, I got a call from an unknown number. Mr. Reed? Yes. This is Judge Patricia Morrison. I'm calling about a petition that's been filed regarding your guardianship. Okay. I wanted to reach out personally because this is an unusual case. Your son has filed for emergency guardianship, claiming you're in immediate danger of making decisions that could harm yourself financially or medically. I'm not in any danger. That's what I'd like to determine. I'm scheduling a hearing for May 20th. Both you and your son will need to be present. Okay. I recommend you bring legal representation. I will. She hung up. Linda looked at me. Emergency guardianship? Yeah. That's aggressive. That's desperate. He's running out of time. So what do? We prepare for the hearing. How? We bring everything. Every document, every email, every piece of evidence. And we show the judge exactly what Daniel's been doing. And if the judge sides with him, she won't. How do you know? Because I'm going to make sure she doesn't. The next 9 days were the longest of my life. Linda and I worked around the clock, organizing evidence, preparing testimony, and practicing what we'd say. Paul Granger helped. He filed motions, drafted arguments, prepared cross-examinations. On May 19th, the day before the hearing, Daniel came to the house one last time. I saw him through the window. I didn't open the door. He knocked, waited, knocked again. Then he yelled through the door. Dad, please, just talk to me. I didn't respond. I'm trying to help you. Why can't you see that? I walked to the door. Didn't open it, just stood on the other side. You're not helping me, Daniel. You're helping yourself. That's not true. Yes, it is. And tomorrow the judge is going to see that. There was a long silence. You're making a mistake, he said finally. Maybe, but it's mine to make. He left. That night, I barely slept. I kept going over everything in my mind, every argument, every piece of evidence, every possible outcome. At 6 a.m, I gave up trying to sleep. I got up, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table. Linda came down an hour later. You ready? She asked. As ready as I'll ever be. Good, because today we end this.